Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Khalid and Tatiana Show. We are your hosts, Khalid bin Walid and the lovely.
Tatiana de Quejos. Khalid, we have an exciting episode today, our second episode, and we are going to focus on two things. First, we are going to do a little bit of the breakdown of what's been happening on the X sphere this week, what's grabbed our attention, what's made us laugh, and basically our best attempt at putting together a lot of information because everything changes by the hour to showcase what we think mattered in the news today.
I have to give a bit of a light sort of take on it. Doesn't have to be very serious, you know that, Tatiana. For example, yes. For example, we have the first tweet here from RT News. Russian family names their newborn son Trump Vladimirovich. What do you think about that, Tatiana?
I should help. I saw this. I laughed. I mean, what else could the United States want? I'm thinking, Khalid, do you think this little man is going to broker the new peace deal all to himself? Oh
Hey, you know what?
People say.
I would vote him in to be the Russians' new Minister of Foreign Affairs, for sure.
In slightly less light news, as most people know, the German elections happened over the weekend. On Sunday, Scholz is officially out. There is a new president, Merz, but this all happened in the backdrop of the AfD, which is the extreme right-wing populist party, gaining ground. The AfD did not win, but let's look at this map right now. Khalid, do you see anything special about this map?
I don't know, Tatiana. It kind of reminds me of something I've seen quite a while back. It rhymes with Berlin Ball. Berlin Wall. Yes, that's right. Ding, 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 ding. Exactly.
Yeah, there is
Right,
a
though, isn't it?
Did you see the divide? It's exactly that. East against West. This is basically the best indication of politics in Europe and in Germany at the moment, and I am not very hopeful for the future.
Wow.
What else do we have, Khaled?
Yeah, this one's a bit more of on the lighter side. Let's bring up this video here. This is Trump cracking jokes with Macron at the White House.
I just want to tell you a little story. So we were at the Eiffel Tower having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. You remember? That wasn't exactly what we agreed to.
There was a continuation of this clip. I don't know if you've seen it, but Trump isn't a guy who likes power plays. You know, he needs to be dominant, and I don't think that he really liked what Macron did there. What do you think?
No, I don't think I don't think that he liked that Macron was, I don't know if you noticed, caressing his leg quite a lot throughout that point. And also, it's, a little bit of context. Journalists were asking Macron questions in French, and Macron was answering in French. And frankly, it's not very polite when you've thrown halfway across the world, basically to beg for something. But did you hear about the new DODA measurement, Khaled?
Is it the new light year measurement of how long it takes to go and see Trump?
Basically, the Polish foreign minister went to visit Trump the other week. He was made to wait 1.5 hours outside, and now we have a new measurement for DODA measurement.
You want to pick the next one?
Oh, yes. Oh, It's been a bad week for Zelensky, hasn't it?
I don't want to be in this guy's shoes. Yeah.
No.
I could say I feel sorry for him, but I don't know if that's the right word. He kind of dug himself into a pit right there. Well, on the plus side, Macron did an amazing entrance in that video, didn't he?
This video has been circulating on Russian social media. And frankly, which is the bigger nightmare? Putin and Trump and Lavrov with a knife, or Boris Johnson with a banana? Speaking about Zelensky, well, by the time this will be out, everybody will have known that a minerals deal was signed with the US. But last week, well, this week, there was a meeting of European leaders in Kiev, and Zelensky spoke about NATO, except maybe he didn't get much sleep the night before. Let's check it out.
Безпеки, які дає НАТО. І якщо членство в НАТО для України, для наших людей і надалі залишиться закритим, у нас з вами не буде іншого вибору, ніж будувати НАТО в Україні.
Khaled, apparently Ukraine will be forced to create its own NATO if NATO does not want to accept it. What? Did you understand that?
Look, all jokes aside, I think he doesn't get enough sleep, and he's been taking a lot of methamphetamines, judging by
You said it, I didn't.
I call it like it is. I've seen this guy twitching, and he's under a lot of stress. Obviously, he's been medicated, and it's starting to show. What do you mean you're going to create a NATO if NATO doesn't comply? You and what army? What's left?
Look, all jokes aside, we've said that before at numerous times. This war is a tragedy. People dying is a tragedy. And also, he was a film actor. He had the greatest role of its life. The film is ending in a tragedy, and I hope it doesn't end for him in a tragedy. There is nothing funny what he's doing to his
Most importantly, I hope it doesn't end with a bigger tragedy for the common people of Ukraine.
No, exactly. For the common people of Ukraine who deserve peace and who deserve end to this conflict.
On a more lighter note,
On a much lighter note, well, it's the same people who are making the news and the headlines throughout the week.
so I sent this to Tatiana, and I wanted to know what she thought of this. We have King Trump here, and it was interesting to see how Western audiences took to that versus how the Saudis took to that.
Do you want to give us a little bit more about the Saudi take?
Yes. Well, the Saudi take is, I mean, let's just pull that here and translate it for you. I should have prepped this before. Right. No, I got it. So, this is from Miss Marah. She says, it seems to me that President Trump is not only impressed by Saudi Arabia's management of its economy, its sovereign wealth fund, and wishes America had a fund as powerful as it is, but he is also impressed by the monarchy. I do not blame President Trump for his jealousy of the kingdom, as it was and still is the destination, blah, 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 blah. So the common sentiment is he wants to be more like Saudi. What do you think, Tatiana?
Well, I think it's very clear that if Trump could change the Constitution and have the third, fourth, or fifth term, he would. You know, my opinion on this. I think that centralized governance can work very effectively. Monarchies or equivalents to more monarchical governments work very well and work better for some countries than others. Actually, I'll go as far as saying that some countries need a firm hand and leadership and guidance and a vision to be able to achieve their goals. And, you know, I think maybe the US needs a little bit of this. And Trump he's been going to Saudi for how many decades now? I'm not surprised that he's viewing himself as King Trump. And we'll see what happens. And ask me again in 4 years.
You think he's a bit jealous then?
I think he's a bit jealous. and I think he does want his own sovereign wealth fund.
That he definitely does want.
Well, which he's going to announce in the next 2 months. We're going to announce the strategy. And with the last one, we're going to talk about this more in part 2 of this episode, which will be released tomorrow, just so you know, guys. But Kirill Dmitriev, the CEO of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, so another sovereign wealth fund, he pulls out the receipts, all 324 billion of them, of how much business the US has lost by going to war, proxy war with Russia. What do you think, Khaled? I think it's more than 324 billion.
I think it's a very low estimate. I mean, we talked about this a lot the other day. This is just an estimate, a ballpark figure, because I don't think they really took into consideration the reputational losses as well. Yeah, I mean, all these companies that left, do you think if they come back tomorrow, Russians are going to buy from them, work with them? I think they're going to find it very difficult. Russians are very like Saudis in this sense, huh? They don't like anybody bad-mouthing their country or putting them in a bad light, do they?
And I think that was very smart of Dmitriev to come in. He knows the art of the deal. He understands it. And I think this takes us to the big segment of today's episode. What are we speaking about today, Khalid?
Well, today's going to be a chunky episode. There's a lot that happened today in Miami. Let's talk about the Future Investment Initiative. And this is the nonprofit organization that was built by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. It was launched about a year after the Vision 2030 was released. And it was seen as a sort of vehicle to bring in foreign direct investment and to start mobilizing the economy in certain sectors. And we could, I think, is it safe to call it the Davos in the desert? Didn't they call it that for a while?
We're still calling it that for a while, and it absolutely is Davos in the desert. I mean, maybe it's a bit story time because we're always going to put a story here. We were there when it launched in 2017 in Riyadh.
Yeah, and I let it forever be known that I got you all the way to the front door. Yeah. Can you at least attest to that? I got you all the way there.
You got me all the way to the front door. Still, we could argue that you could have gotten in the very big guns, right?
Yeah. Look, I think I could have maybe gone through the first barrier, but without an ID, let's just say I didn't want to be an uninvited guest in such a very important place. Yeah.
Look, I remember you said Davos in the desert, and the FII was launched, I believe, exactly for this reason. As you said, launched the year after the Vision 2030 was announced, but also as an equalizer to the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum attracts the world's top policymakers, industry leaders, economists, thought leaders, bankers, investors. And the FII created this, but for, I won't say for emerging markets, but offering a perspective which wasn't just Western dominated. And I remember in 2017, it was monumental because there was the announcement of NEOM, the launch of the partnership with SoftBank, and Mayoshi-san with the Vision Fund, which at the time, 222 billion. Saudi Arabia was the anchor investor. It was the year after Vision 2030, a big partnership with Boston Dynamics for NEOM. So I remember His Majesty Mohammed bin Salman announcing all these amazing initiatives and being there part of the audience. And I have to say, you really felt as an attendee, as a change maker, as you were there, you were seeing, you were part of something. And the FII still does that to people. I mean, some of the attendees, who were some of the attendees this year in Miami?
Well, there was Elon Musk for sure, Jared Kushner, there was
Yasser Al-Rubayyan.
Yeah, the PIF chair, yes. Steve Cohen, there was Witkoff, who else?
Chu. There was, of course, the Saudi finance minister, Mohammed Al-Jadaan. There was the Saudi Minister of Finance, His Excellency Khalid Al-Faleh. There was Serena Williams, because apparently Serena Williams is an investor. I mean, Hassan Jamil from Abdul Latif Jamil. I mean, we're talking about the who's who of the investment, the financial, and the political elite. And who gave an address to start off?
I mean, only the Saudis can pull him in. Donald. Let's play the clip. Can we play the clip, please? Let's play the clip.
Special leaders. And including FII Institute Chairman and Governor of the Public Investment Fund, which is a seriously big fund. Yasser, I see you there. Stand up, Yasser. Yeah, everyone knows Yasser. Thank you. Great guy, great person. And Finance Minister Mohammed, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you very much. Good to see you again. That's pretty good, Finance Minister of that part of the world. That's not bad. Other parts of the world, not so good, but that one is good. And many other senior government leaders. I also want to recognize.
I love it. Donald Trump. I mean, he has to be, I can't decide whether he is effectively the best or the worst public speaker, but I actually think one of the best, because he just makes it very, very clear, to the point. And what's your main takeaway from Donald Trump's address?
If we're going to separate the chaff, I'd say that America's back in business, and They want to invest heavily into tech and AI. Was it 500 billion or so? Something like those lines.
Stargate, Project Stargate, yes.
Project Target. And I personally think he wants to fix the relationship between our two nations. Like,
Can you go a little bit deeper into that? Because I think for some people, even me, when you first told me that, I was quite surprised. For me, the United States and Saudi Arabia have historically had a very long, and I wouldn't say unbumpy, but a very long and fruitful relationship. It's a close partner in a lot of domains. So, what happened between Trump's first term and this second term? I mean, what was the deal with Biden?
well, when he was president-elect, he shot a very low shot. He made it very personal. He attacked His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, said he wanted to ostracize him and show him as the pariah that he is. And I mean, get off your high horse. Who do you think you are? And yeah, I could have told you then and there that the Saudis are going to do everything in their powers to make whoever is going to come after him look better than Biden. Yeah, that's the facts.
And maybe let's give this a little bit of context, because you've just said America is open for business again. Actually, under Trump, he is positioning this as the new golden age of America, the great American reawakening. Technology, manufacturing, reshoring, relocalization, eliminating inefficiencies, not only within his own government, but in his alliances.
Yep.
But to build on this vision, and I think Project Stargate is a very good example. Saudi Arabia Vision Fund, specifically SoftBank, will be investing a significant amount in this 500 billion project. The United States does need the support of foreign investors, and that does include Saudi Arabia, to be able to achieve those plans. So in my opinion, he's demonstrating that times have changed. America is once again pro-business. It's more efficient. They're open for dialogue. They're open for new collaboration opportunities, and also that it is a safe location for investment. Because at the time, there was a lot of question marks over America's economy. It wasn't doing very well under Biden.
Yes, well, how could it? I mean, let's be totally frank here. Right? We're not gonna take this in a political lens, but facts are facts. He went and weaponized the dollar. He weaponized sanctions. How can I, as a foreign investor, as a Saudi foreign investor, if I were to invest in the US, what kind of guarantee would I have that tomorrow you wouldn't wake up and not take your medication and decide that you want to sanction Saudi businessmen?
That theoretically, Trump, who was on a tariff and sanction splurge, theoretically could do the same thing.
Theoretically, but look, the difference between, I think, Sleepy Joe Biden and King Trump is, I think Trump really uses it as a negotiation tactic, personally, because, I mean, realistically speaking, is he really going to slap a tariff on Mexico and Canada? Yes, but he wants to get a better deal, right?
I think you've just said it. Deal. And there's a whole discussion also between Jared Kushner and Steve Wynkoff. I think he doesn't really deserve an introduction. We've spoken about him before. And the summit, the FII in Miami, was really about making a deal. And as we discussed last week, now It isn't about traditional diplomacy anymore. Peace through strength, which was also something which was repeated a number of different times, is about creating resilient economies, strong economies, specifically resilient and intertwined financial systems. This is my belief. That peace through strength is if an economy is strong enough, it can deter potential threats from the outside. But the intertwining today of financial capital, be it in public capital markets or private capital markets, actually creates a deterrent to any future conflict or disagreement. But with Trump, if you don't know how to make a deal, if you can't sit down at the table, there's no deal. You're fired.
Exactly.
Sorry, I could resist.
No. As you so eloquently said it, yes, for sure, for sure. I mean, Trump. Let's look at. Forget about how Western media portrays the man. Nobody's perfect, but he is a deal maker. You don't get to be in business for so long without knowing a thing or two about how to deal with people, how to open dialogue. I mean, when was the last time that U.S. president and the Russian president sat down?
Years ago. I don't have a date in front of me, and I don't like to say, do you have a date?
I think the last time was it? I'd like to say Clinton. I'm not 100% sure.
The Russian president and the U.S. president?
Yeah.
No,
When was
the last time was in 2020 or 2021.
Was it? Oh yes, it was. Yeah. I'm not gonna move the post because I own when I actually make a mistake. There you go.
No. We're going to fact check. We're going to fact check this.
Mhm.
But we're speaking here a lot about the United States. What potentially makes America an attractive destination for investors, an attractive destination for Saudi Arabia, who has spent up to 40 billion annually up until very recently investing in American companies through the Public Investment Fund. But how about we speak a little bit more about what the Saudi PIF's CEO Yasser Al-Rumayyan said at the FII Summit?
Well, there's a few key points. First and foremost is that there's going to be a focus on domestic deployment. So there's about, let's see here, 40 to 50 billion USD that's going to be in greenfield assets. And I think we can see a sort of flip where initially it was, I believe, 15% for the domestic market and the rest was going to be foreign. And now there's a huge shift where it's 15% for the OOK out of kingdom and the rest in the kingdom. And I thought that was a very substantial change. I mean, you're the finance person, you tell me.
Look, it's a huge change. It's actually caused a little bit of shocks and, dare I say, a little bit of fear within the investment community, specifically within private capital markets. The PIF has made substantial investments in venture capital, in private equity, in household names, be it Uber, be it Lucid, be it Airbnb, and a number of different companies, Magic Leap, etc. The list goes on. I believe it has shareholdings of over 118 companies. And by flipping the script and now saying, well, we're going to deploy 75% of our capital domestically. This is, Khalid, this is 75 billion annually. It's enormous. Domestically within the market, it shows really what Yasser was saying about how the PIF is an economic multiplier for Saudi Arabia, beyond being just a sovereign wealth fund. And sovereign wealth funds, there's a number of different countries who have sovereign wealth funds. They typically invest in more traditional assets, public equities, bonds, infrastructure, very heavily in infrastructure, and sometimes private equity. And already the PIF in the last 10 years has really differentiated itself from investing across all asset classes, be it venture capital, be it technology, innovation, having a very clearly defined strategy, and not only investing domestically, but actually heavily investing internationally. But I think there's been a reason for this. Why now is the right time to rein in the foreign capital and reinvest it domestically. The PIF has positioned itself very well. It's now it has a very disciplined valuation approach to the majority of its investments. There has been a multiplier effect and definitely proceeds in earnings, which have come back in now across the last decade. And there's a very big opportunity with the shifts and the Vision 2030 to now localize those companies to come into Saudi Arabia. What do you think? How do you see it?
I see it as actually it's not just specific about Saudi, it's a global trend, isn't it? I mean, the pendulum's sort of swinging all the way the other side. People are shunning globalist ideals, and they're becoming more of a mercantile setup, aren't they? You know, they want
Technocratic or mercantile. It's a mix of both, really.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And I think also that because of these shifts, the PIF is incredibly intelligent in its dealings because they see this shift. They're very good at constantly reevaluating themselves, seeing where they want to position themselves, and we can both agree. Look, 10 years ago, let's be very honest, some of the investments and some of the things they were saying, we felt like it was a bit out there, huh? But the reality is,
We work. Sorry.
yeah, it's not going to be perfect. Okay,
It's not going to be perfect.
we're going to take some risks, but
Look,
that's
and
the smart thing to do.
to be fair, the Vision Fund launched at the height of the growth venture capital markets. Valuations were absolutely crazy. And I can even see, in terms of a repositioning strategy, sometimes to have access, and this is in the US, to have access to the best deals, you need to invest alongside investors, whether that particular company makes sense or doesn't make sense. And this was at the height of the valuation. And it's normal. If you're dealing with private markets, there's always going to be a risk. Typically at growth stage, there's much less of a risk. But let's also be honest. We had this conversation just the other day about the PIF's role also in attracting foreign capital and foreign companies into Saudi Arabia. I mean, you were talking to me about financial players which were coming in. Do you want to provide a little bit more insight from somebody? I mean, this is what you've worked on for the past 10 years, bringing in companies in. So can you explain how the market has shifted a little bit?
Pre-Vision 2030 and pre the new Saudi laws that incentivized foreign companies to set up shop in Saudi, we had approximately 2,000 foreign companies. As of 2024, fourth quarter, we have something along the lines of 40,000. And this is in the less than 10 years. This is a huge shift. Furthermore, part of the incentive structure is that you would be exempt from certain taxes as long as you set up your headquarters for the Middle East in Saudi. Now, as an ex-consultant, I can tell you that a lot of consultancies went and jumped on that fact because, yeah, we love scraping off the top, don't we? So, yeah, listen, it's how we do business, and
It's a business model.
it
It
is
still exists, it still works, it still functions. So
They
no
were the first
disrupting the
movers.
consulting companies.
Consultancy companies were the first movers, but now we can see that there are companies coming from India, from China. Actually, just the other day, there was a huge block right where I was in Riyadh. We passed by a couple of times, me and my friends, and we can see that it was, I think, a consortium of 4 or 5 different Chinese companies that bought the land and are building this high rise just for them as their headquarters, which is a substantial shift in the market. So I can say it is fair to say that there's going to be a very big change in the real estate market, specifically in Riyadh, specifically in high rises.
That was mentioned at the FII. Actually, I believe it was the CEO of BlackRock, Rob Capito, who said that he sees the Saudi real estate market as one of the fastest growing markets in the world.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, I mean, okay, I think the best way to sort of conclude the how well the FII did and what the key points are is probably what Her Royal Highness Princess Rima said. Saudi positions itself according to what we want to see ourselves in the future. So we started off at 2030. We're going to do a 2040. We're going to do a 50, a 60, and so on. The most important things to invest in are technology and the human capital. And I'd say that our foreign partners should see Saudi as an example in how to collaborate and how to lead looking forwards.
Yes, and dare I say also going back into that economic multiplier on the value creation. You know, a lot of funds are measured according to the value creation, and often those are financial indicators. And Saudi Arabia has, over the last 20 years, really managed to fine tune the way in which it can concretely extract value and retain value from foreign investments in its economy. You mentioned some of them, and there's other ones that I'd like to highlight, which is technology transfer, which is IP, which is localizing manufacturing, and which is by, let's not forget, by investing in some of those future companies, such as AI, such as Stargate. Yasser said it himself. People forget that Saudi have the energy. It's oil today. 2032, it may be a 50-50 mix of renewables and oil. And actually, Saudi Arabia doesn't even need oil. It could power the world 32 times over, if I remember the statistic accurately, just with solar power. So imagine the potential there is to meet the future needs of infrastructure and AI. And it itself, it makes Saudi Arabia an unmissable partner, a needed partner.
I totally agree. And who knows, you know, in 20, 30 years, it could not even be, maybe it's not even fossil fuels and renewables as we know it. It could be something as exotic as cold fusion, you know, who knows? Especially
It could potentially be, especially now with AI and nuclear energy. There's a lot of things going on in this industry. Actually, a lot of European countries are looking at the nuclear industry. There's a lot of research, so I think that we definitely need to watch this space. But one of the reasons why we wanted to cover the FII is not only does it have the world's best investors in the same room, but we really need to look at what it means, not only for future investments and infrastructure investments in other countries, be it the United States, be it Europe, because Saudi Arabia, the PIF invested in Mistral and a number of different AI projects in France, but also what does this mean for companies who are really seeking expansion? And what does it mean in terms of value creation? Because as you said, there's a lot of lessons learned into how you can recreate and re-put those inputs into the economy.
I completely agree.
Well, I think this is a good place to wrap up. Guys and everybody, stay tuned because we actually have part 2 of this episode, which is dropping tomorrow, where we're going to dig a little bit more in financial markets and investment interests, but this time between the US and Russia. And we're going to speak about sovereign wealth funds again.
So please stay tuned, like, subscribe, and comment down below. And don't forget, if there's any specific area that you'd like us to cover, please put that right down there. Buy us a coffee, buy us a qahwa. And
Even maybe have a qahwa with us at some point if you support us.
yes, of course. So, like you said, I think that's a great place to stop here. And we are going to see you on our next episode.
Thank you so much for your support, and Khaled. A pleasure as always. See you tomorrow.